Alright. Welcome back to Life the Dream. Okay, so my landlord is hopefully this is like bright enough. I don't know. We'll see. I got the light on in the back. I usually don't do that, but um so we have a landlord, and usually like someone will just come to mow the grass. I've never actually been here for it because it literally takes 2 seconds, but pretty good amount of rain right now, like coming down. Like the grass is saturated, and I don't know if you can hear that. Sorry in advance, but I was like, I'm still gonna record. I don't really care. But yeah, I live like right. My room's like right next to the backyard, and it's just like still like they're still deciding to mow the lawn. I'm like, okay, but um, anyways, sorry about the noise if you get that. Yeah, welcome back. I had some time to think on the way home, which is good. Normally I call, shout out my sis. Normally I call my sis on Tuesdays, but I just was not feeling like in the mood to talk really. So I ended up just kind of thinking about some life the germ ideas, and um, I was crafting this one for a couple weeks, and I feel like I finally honed in on what I kind of wanted to talk about. So um, yeah, I'm pretty excited for this, but um, overall, pretty solid week. I'm like really tired. I'm going to a science conference Wednesday through Thursday, so luckily I was able to get Life of the German like right before this, which was super nice. But yeah, I'm excited for science conferences because it's a lot of listening and just kind of hanging out. I think I maybe mentioned this last episode, but yeah, it's tomorrow morning. I'm already packed up, so all I got to do is kind of just eat dinner, and I'll probably just like zombie out after I upload this. But yeah, overall pretty solid vibes. I'm gonna be honest, the battery on this camera is pretty low, so I'm gonna try to. There's no way you don't hear this right now. It's kind of funny, dude. Now they're just blowing the leaf blower around. It's just crazy. I'm gonna try to keep this one short, just because it said when I started this that my battery's at like two out of 4 bars, and when you record video, it drops so quick. So, all this to preface, if it dies halfway through, that's just part of the art, you know. Like anything that goes wrong in the video, I'm just like, it's part of what I wanted to convey. You know, you just blame it on that. But it is meant to be after all. So I did have a drawing this week for drawings and stuff. Not the best. Like dropping something with like your hand is so difficult. Like actually drawing that is very complicated. But I feel like my gear was decent. You know, there's a guy up here on this cliff. This is supposed to be like a small version of the gear, and then he's like dropping it, and then this is just like some ground. I don't know, it's not great, but it's dropping a gear, you know. But anyone that knows this saying knows that it's not about cars, or it's not about dropping a gear like on the ground. It's about cars. And um shout out my buddy Justin for putting me on this. I haven't heard this term literally probably since freshman year of high school. I don't know how I thought of it, but one day I was walking to work, and I thought, and I always thought it was just a cool saying, like drop a gear and disappear. Like it's just dope. And I think what it was is like some of Justin like has an older cousin that used to race a lot, like just race cars in the city. And a lot of his friends, I think, when they'd race, they like told Justin this like tactic, and I don't even know if this is real, but this is when he explained it to me. This is what it was. Basically, when you're like shifting gears on a car, say you're like starting from a stoplight and it turns green, like apparently how it works is that if you if you're like upshifting, you know, as like the RPMs go, like there's this like apparently if you do this for like a really small amount of time and you like drop a gear as you're accelerating, or maybe it's when you're already fully accelerated. I'm not gonna talk like I know what actually goes on, but like if you drop a gear and you're already like you're like medium RPMs, then your RPMs are gonna shoot way up. But then like because you're in a lower gear, you're gonna accelerate a lot quicker. So I think that's what it gets at. And how I remember this is because like I don't know, like one of his cousin's friends like was racing and like dropped 2 gears, and I mean if you're like flooring it, like if you're dropping 2 gears, you're cooked. And I think the guy like blew out his transmission or something. Um but ever since then I've always thought of that saying, and I'm not applying it to cars in this case. I'm sort of applying it to, I think, something that, like a goal, any goal that you have in mind. And as I told you guys like a couple months ago, I tested this out at work where I just like went really hard for like a month, and like just to try to see like kind of what my limit was, to see like how much I could work before I just got really like mentally drained, physically drained. And it lasted like a month. And I think this saying really encapsulates what I'm trying to say. And what it gets at is this idea of, um, yeah, you can drop the gear and go for it. This is just so, I feel like it's not as hype. Maybe you can't even hear the leaf blower. I don't know, but it's very distracting. But what this gets at is the fact that, when you're dropping this gear, right, and you like really have to get something done, you can do it. But like when you're racing a car, you can only do it for a small amount of time. Otherwise you're gonna like, your RPMs are gonna soar into the red, and you're probably gonna like blow up the engine. Something's gonna go wrong, right? And I think this is a perfect analogy for like something that you want to really achieve, and like it's going to take a lot of like really high effort for, but you can only do that for a short amount of time, right? It's the same way with running too. Like, yeah, you can run a full out sprint for like 1 to 200 meters, but after that, there's just no way you're going to be able to sustain that, right? And once I think it was a good lesson for me, because what I realized then is for a lot of these things, like you really start to appreciate the timing of things. And I'm like I think the past year, that's been a big lesson for me, just in life in general. Time and time again, I see this, not just like being punctual for a meeting, but like you like meet someone at the right time in your life that like leads you to a new job opportunity, or um you meet someone. I mean, you could see your whole life as this, right? Like when I moved to Denver for these 5 years, like there's going to be people in this city that overlap with me during this time frame within these 5 years, right? And I'm fortunate enough to like have moved out here and then been able to meet people out here, right? Whereas like you could say the same thing if I stayed in Wisconsin. Like those people would be around me and I would have the potential of meeting them. Unlike if I lived in Denver and then like tried to meet people in Wisconsin, like it's just much more unlikely that were to happen, right? Because I don't live there. Like that, the odds that I'd bump into them is like near to none, right? But more specifically, timing for like, really understanding like when it is you need to push, because I think for me, like sort of a little bit like ignorant to this all. Like I was like, people are always like, oh yeah, you can only push for so long before you get tired. And I think this is more related to work. And I'm like, I'll just push all the time because it's like, duh, like I'll maximize productivity. But you just can't do that. Like there's only so much you can take before, like after weeks of buildup of this, you're just so dead, and you're like, yeah, this is not good for a long period of time. But if you know when you have to do it, and you know that there's an end point and there's this incentive for you on the other side, I think you can do it. And like, that this time frame is going to suck, but So you're going to drop the gear, right? And then you're going to take off and be super productive for like a few weeks. But like you're not going to be stuck in that state forever, right? And I think if you know that it's going to end, then it can help with feelings of just like feeling like just like super unmotivated about something. And yeah. And yeah, I think I was trying to compare this to like guys who were always like David Goggins is a perfect example. He always goes on and on about how he's like no days off, which no days off is one, right? And then two, he's like, yeah, like couples that with, I guess these are kind of one and the same, but he's like, yeah, like he always talks about he like never takes vacation at all, like, and it's just like he thinks in all aspects of your life, your craft, whatever you do, like you don't need any vacation. I just think that's absolute crap. Like because what I find is that if you give yourself just a couple days with something to like let your drive, let your juices like come back for that, you find that you come back with all these super fresh ideas. Like I'll give you an example. Like I at my job, for example, I was doing all these microscopy experiments, microscopy. I got so like tired of microscopy. And then I had these past 2 weeks where I had to like convert all this data into like a presentable format where I could like communicate my findings, right? And that took like 1 or 2 weeks, and I gave the presentation, and then I did some thinking about like future experiments. And then I like today I found myself looking at the data again, and I was getting all these really cool ideas. And like I also like I'm now enjoying actually doing it again. And I think there's something to be said for doing stuff even though you don't want to do it, right? Sometimes you just got to do that. But you often find that like you don't make mistakes, but maybe you miss things. I feel like creatively when I'm like trying to think of solutions to problems, it's not as good if I don't really want to be doing it, right? So I think there is something to be said for taking a break every once in a while and not feeling like you have to drop a gear at all times, right? And um I think that's what I wanted to get at. I think this sort of spoke to me recently because I've just been I think the last time I had off was like sometime early June. So it's been like a good, I mean, June, July, August. I mean, it's been a good probably 3 months of like just working 5 days a week. Well, more like 6 days a week is what I do. That probably doesn't help either, but and I'm just like looking forward to this break so much. But I also coupled this with the guy from Treasure Planet. If you guys know that movie, shout out. That's like one of my all-time favorite movies. My dad like I think like he like burned it onto a CD. So we didn't even have like a cover for it. It was just in this like CD case, and it was just like treasure. It just said like TP on the disc. And I always just thought it was a sweet movie. I feel like it's often a Disney movie that gets very overlooked. It was like made in like the early 2000s, but I think just because like all the other really good Disney movies were out then, like Lion King, Cinderella, and then there's just Treasure Planet where this guy like it's just this like troubled teen who doesn't really like he doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life, but he like read all these books that this like pirate buried this treasure on this planet, and like no one ever knew where it was, and it's like about this adventure, like somehow the map like falls into his hands, and he like knows where the planet is, and then it's just him going on this adventure trying to track down this planet, and it's just sick. Like, and instead of a car, what I couple this episode with, and I'll put it as a cover for, I think his name's James. I forget what his last name is, but like the main character's name is James, and he rides this thing called it's called a Solar Surfer. I looked it up. So sick. Like basically imagine like a hoverboard. It's like a futuristic movie. So imagine like a hoverboard, but then there's a sail on it, and like the sail is a solar panel, and it's just so dope. Like Disney actually has some like pretty cool ideas now every now and again. Like Toy Story also just so original. Like but a lot of like that was cool. And then I thought of James and like basically like at the back of the hoverboard there's these gears that like he shifts and I was like, okay, I need like something to do with that. And I thought it was so sick. I was like, dude, I love that movie. And it's so cool like seeing him go around in the movie. And instantly I was like, okay, drop a gear and disappear. That I knew that was the episode title. And then instantly like, put it as my lock screen. I was like, dude, I feel like I'm having flashbacks to my childhood right now. But yeah, that's drop a gear and disappear. It looks like we made it through the episode, so praise God. Extra short one today, but it is what it is. So thanks for tuning into Life of the Germ. I'm your host, Jeremy, and we'll catch you in the next one.